For 5 years, I've analysed the top 1% of traders in the entire planet. I've realised the elite traders don't guess and they don't hope. In fact, they do less than you or me. And even though they don't all trade the same, they all have something very special in common. And it's time to share with you their blueprint.
So last week I made a video ranking the best and worst traders on social media, from cappuccino level to the god tier. And whilst I was editing that video, I noticed that the people that I put in the top tier and god tier all had some really big similarities. Now, the people in question that I'm going to be speaking about today are going to be Jadecap, Danchung, and Raihan. All of them have three characteristics that they implement in their trading, but they all trade completely differently. So let's talk about Raihan, Mr. Euro Trader, and I'm calling him the specialist. And what does he do? He has one time frame, which is the 4 hour, and he trades one pair, which is EU. Now, just sit back and imagine if you spent 10 years in trading and all you did was master one pair and one time frame. Now, I personally don't trade one time frame and one pair. I trade EU, GU, and gold. And I do look at the daily, 4 hour, and the 5 and 15 minute. So I am a little bit more sporadic in that sense. However, the point of what I'm trying to say here is that if you want to master something, you need to specialize. A lot of you guys have 20 different key levels, 3 different entry models, and you trade every single session like Asia, New York, and London, and you wonder why your edge isn't playing out. But the real reason is that you need to specialize in something. You need to get to a point where you know that pair inside and out. And when you're learning trading, oftentimes you want to be in the market a lot because you're just trying to implement what you've learned and see if it's correct. When actually what you should be doing is, yes, implement the strategy, and you will be taking more trades when you first start off trading, but you want to basically get different scenarios. So one scenario is great scenarios on the higher time frame when your, for example, setup or entry model, whatever it may be, plays out. You're going to have another time where it's bad conditions, and you're going to have another time where it's not so sure. And over time, when you build experience, you end up finding out what is the best times, and everything else is just, I'd rather sit out on that. And oftentimes you won't know if it's a bad condition to trade, but you will know when it's unsure. And that comes with experience. But if you can focus on one pair or 1 to 2 pairs even, focus on just a couple of time frames, you are going to become a specialist in your area. And just like the Euro Trader, does what it says on the tin, he specializes in one pair and does really, really well. He's not a jack of all trades. He focuses on something that he's really good at, and he just understands his model really, really well. And that's what I highly suggest for you guys. In my opinion, I suggest sticking to the daily time frame, the 4 hour, and the 5 minute. And anyone in the mentorship or anything knows that those are the only 3 time frames that I really care about. As soon as you start looking at the 1 minute, the 3 minute, the 5 minute, 15, daily, weekly, monthly, it all becomes a little bit too complicated. And one of the biggest questions that I get asked all the time is, what time frame should I be looking at? And for me, that's what will answer that question for you, is become a master at just a couple. That's all you need. You don't need every single time frame in order to become a trader, despite what a lot of people say. The next trader that I want to talk about is Jadecap. He's got about 15 years experience in the markets. He's been through the highs and lows, and I believe it took him about 10 years to become profitable, which is quite a long time. However, it's all paid off in the long run. And why is that? It's because he's got the experience. However, something that you might not know about Jadecap is that his win rate is only about 35%. Now, the Fugazi traders, the ones that I put in the cap tier, they'll try and sell you stuff like they've got a 90% win rate because it's just a number that sells. So the real traders, if you've been in the market for a long time, know that longevity comes from risk management and also trade selection as well. And that's what Jadecap does really, really well. So Jadecap actually loses more than he wins, obviously because of the 35% win rate, right? But he makes his millions when the market conditions shift in his favor. So unprofitable traders, they trade the same through every single leg of price. Whereas the elite traders, the ones that are profitable and taking money out of the markets, they will adjust their risk accordingly and sit out of the market when things aren't necessarily going in their favor. And in trading, it's all about picking the right time to be in the market and the right time to stay out of the market. And that comes with a lot of experience. So I'm going to give you a scenario right now that will explain it. You've got chart A and chart B. If I'm looking for buys in a market, which scenario do you think is higher probability to trade in? I'll give you a second to have a look at it. I think everyone and their nan would say that realistically it's chart B, right? You can see the higher highs and higher lows, and you can just see that price is basically going up. It's not rocket science. But why is chart A lower probability? The reason why is because we are trapped in a consolidation. Now, a lot of traders, what they will do is they will be losing a lot of money in this A part of trading. Now, you can only identify this kind of towards the end if you're a new trader. But if you're an elite trader, if you're someone that has experience, you can oftentimes identify when price is starting to consolidate earlier on, which will basically preserve your capital. Whereas in price B, we can see that we're making some really nice upward movement, taking out internal to external liquidity and just pushing higher overall. And that makes your buys much higher probability. And those are the markets that you want to be in. This is where you're going to make a lot of money in trading. It's where you're going to pass accounts. You're going to get funded, you're going to get your payouts. But in periods like this, in option A, unless you are a support and resistance trader or you trade just certain key levels or rejections, then that might be good for you. However, for nice trending markets, that's what we want to be in as traders. We want to capitalize on the big moves, and that's where we want to be in, and we want to be staying out in scenario A. Now, the third person that I want to give a special mention to is Dan Chun. Now, why did I rank Dan so high? He trades his strategy, he doesn't ever pivot, and he accepts his losing streaks. So I've seen Dan publicly post an entire month of losses. I've seen him lose 1 million in funding, make it back, but most people, they can't even handle losing that level of funding, let alone doing that publicly. But he knows that that is simply part of the process, and his strategy just plays out over time. I take a lot of inspiration from Dan, and I share all of my trades publicly with the team because I want you to understand that loss streaks are literally just part of the game and they can come at any moment. Just because you learnt a strategy and you understand a strategy and you can implement it doesn't mean that you're going to avoid losing streaks. Every strategy has an edge, but the edge will play out at certain points in time. It doesn't mean it's going to play out every single time. And I know that losing is something that everyone knows happens in trading, but I think that when you're trying to become profitable and you finally start getting a little bit of momentum, you might pass an account or start getting a few payouts, and then it turns. A lot of people have doubt, but it's not about having doubt. It's just analyzing yourself and thinking, was it myself that was the problem? And I got, for example, the daily bias wrong. Did I actually break a rule? Did I, mess up my entry model? Did I enter too early and not at my agreed time? Or was my analysis just wrong and the strategy didn't play out? That's what you've got to look at and really find out when you're going through those losing streaks. Most people, what they do is they kick themselves when they're down and they try and think, you know what, I need to do ice baths. I need to figure out what was wrong with me. Maybe I was stressed. But the reality is, for a lot of people, you were actually doing the correct thing. You were just doing it in either the wrong market conditions or you could have just stayed out of the market. So you need full belief in your system through the losing streak so that you can actually understand, was it my strategy that wasn't playing out or was it me that's the problem? But you need that belief in you so that you can work through the losing streaks and get to the other side. But if you don't and you start changing things, you start editing your strategy, oftentimes that's going to hinder you in the long run if that becomes a repeatable process. So find a strategy that you believe in, find a mentor that trades live so you can see that they actually stick to the rules that they are teaching in the market every day. And then you can just have that belief through the losing streaks. But it's so important to actually stick to your strategy, especially when it's going badly, and not blow up and think, you know what, I need to change things, because you shouldn't do that. So I've taken a lot of inspiration from these guys and I'm looking to do the same thing. Now, I put myself in the okay tier, not because I think I'm a bad trader or anything, but I want to earn your guys' respect and earn my way into the God tier. So what I'm going to be doing, and we just started this in November, is I'm going from 0 to 1 million in prop firm funding for Forex firms. And since November, since we started, we've already got funded once with 50K, and I've just passed another one this December for a phase 1. And the way that we're going to do things is we're going to start from 2 50K accounts. So we're going to do a 50K, then another 50K. Once we're at 100K capital, then we're going to be doing just 100K challenges alone. And we're going to be doing that all the way up until I hit 1 million in prop firm funding. Guys, if you want to join the journey and you want to be in a really tight-knit community of traders that are all trading the exact system that I use, then make sure you like the video, subscribe, and don't forget to click the link in the bio.